Philadelphia Union, San Jose or DC, Los Angeles Galaxy,
Pitch Pass,
Colorado Rapids, Vancouver Whitecaps, Seattle Sounders, Montreal Impact, Plus USA, New York Red Bulls.
Pitch Pass, your all-access credential to the people that matter in MLS. Here's your host, Greg Roche.
Well, welcome to Pitch Pass. We are on location. There's a couple of DC boys just hanging out. Oh, I like you bring the sunglasses down.
Yeah.
Stephen Goff actually joins me here as they're wrapping up the Pro Disney
Where are we?
Soccer Classic. We're in Mickey Mouse World.
Are we in Tomorrowland or Fantasyland? Or?
We're at the ESPN Wide World of Sports as the Soccer Classic. I saw Strauss called it earlier. It's Silver Saturday as the Diamond Desert Classic wraps today. This wraps today, and the Charleston Carolina Cup Challenge wraps. It all wraps today. A lot of trophies being awarded today.
It's all happening, man. It's all happening right here.
So we got to make this a little evergreen, just because leading up to the opening of MLS, which is next Saturday, all across the country. But I wanted to ask you, since we're sitting here in Florida, in Orlando, we know that MLS is trying to make preseason, spring training a thing like baseball. Yeah. You've been down here for a couple of days now. Yeah. I'm sure you've been here in past years. Is it something that could happen?
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, they're trying to make it even more centralized in the sense that more teams in one place. Right now, you got Charleston's
going to be the odd city out, though, don't you think, when it's all said and done?
Which is sad, because Charleston's the best of all of them, I think. I mean, I haven't been to Arizona. I don't know what the setup is there, but Charleston's one of the great places in America. And there's, three MLS teams there. There's 6 here. So that's 9, and then you got a whole bunch.
And then all the West Coast teams go in and out of Arizona all preseason.
Yeah, I don't see why you can't do it like baseball, where half your teams are in Arizona, half are in Florida. It's hard to put every team in one place. It works here in Disney with a lot, because not only do you have the stadium field, but you have 300 fields. Whatever it is.
A lot of
here.
fields.
There's a lot of land here.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of hotels, from what I hear. DC's practicing like 45 minutes north of here. So, yeah, I think it's a good thing, and I think it becomes more of a destination for fans.
Yeah.
I've always encouraged the last couple of years for people to go to Charleston, take some vacation time. It's an incredible city, amazing food. You'll see some good soccer, wonderful venue. And I think that's what MLS is pushing.
Yeah, as a foodie, I was wondering when you were going to bring up the Charleston food scene.
Man, Sebastian and I ate well there last year. When I found out that DC was coming to Orlando instead of Charleston this year, I cried and cried.
You don't want any overpriced Disney food? This isn't your cup of tea?
What's funny is, Orlando is Orlando. You can't get around that. But, every city, I can always find a cool place to go. I met Will Coons from MLS Communications and Paul Tenorio, formerly with the Post, now with the Orlando Sentinel. We met up in a historic district in Orlando. Yes, there is a historic.
Now, what history is there in Orlando?
I'm telling you, it was, these beautiful houses and cobblestone streets, and not fake cobblestone, not Disney cobblestone. I mean, like real stuff with cafes and restaurants, and it was really pleasant. So the point is that
you can find it.
If you look a little bit and get away from the Applebee's, you're okay. I know you're a big Applebee's.
I love Applebee's, Steven. I love them.
Yeah, eating good in the neighborhood.
So let's talk a little bit about what we've seen. You've been with United, obviously. You cover them for the Washington Post at Soccer Insider. I think everybody knows your Twitter handle. Scrappy game they played to wrap up their Disney adventure, and including a red card. Now, look, this could have all come down already, but is there a chance that D-Row could face disciplinary action for something that happens in preseason?
Yeah, I mean, it's not automatic like in regular season, but MLS disciplinary committee reviews things involving games between teams, their teams, regardless of the competition. So, yeah, I mean, if the problem is we don't even know if there's video of this. The game was not on TV.
No, it wasn't streamed.
It was not streamed. It initially was supposed to be, and for some reason MLS decided to blow it off. Disney apparently was supposed to tape it for the team's purposes, obviously, a week before the season. We don't know if that exists.
And if it does anybody have an obligation to turn it over to anybody?
Yeah, and the incident took place right in midfield, so it's not like someone's little phone camera was going to get a definitive look at it. So really it'll come down to, I guess, the referee's report and maybe eyewitnesses. Could he get suspended? Yeah, I mean, Danny Cruz said Dero made contact with a headbutt, and that's a pretty serious accusation. It looked like that's what happened.
Well, let's talk big picture about that, because you mentioned before we started rolling that, this is kind of what is expected, based on all the conditions United and Union had played a few days before. I asked you earlier if this rivalry is turning into something on field that it's bigger than the United Red Bull rivalry. First of all, is it? Do you think? There's no love lost between these teams.
No, there's not, and a lot of these guys know each other, played for the other side. I mean, Cruz was traded for Pahoy last year. Brian Carroll played for United for a long time. He's Philadelphia's captain. So there's that for sure. Philadelphia hasn't been around long enough to...
Yeah, but that's from a fan perspective, that makes sense. And I can understand if you're a DC United fan, you say to yourself, oh, Red Bulls are our rival.
Right.
But it seems as if, you're talking U.S. Open Cup, you're talking about some incidents in MLS play.
Yeah.
These teams get into it almost every time they play.
Yeah, for sure. And not only that, it's the proximity. I mean, they're called the Philadelphia Union, but they play in Chester, which is well south of Philly. I mean, if on a good traffic day, you could say that. It needs that little extra explanation. I mean, you can get from RFK to Chester to PPL Park in less than 2 hours, easy. So, this is happening, and there's kind of Philadelphia's still waiting for a breakout season. They've. It's hard to say where they're going after their troubles last year. The ingredients are there for sure. And I think after witnessing today's game, it's going to be some pretty intense three matchups during the regular season.
Let me ask you three United questions.
Sure.
Number one, you unofficially crowned Perry Kitchen the man of the match for their last match.
Oh, it's official.
It's official now. I've crowned him. It's official. It's exciting if you are a United fan, and I don't know, long term, how far away is he from national team? What breakthrough do you expect from him in 2013? And is this the year that he stops being the guy that nobody really talks about and is the guy that is, whoa, this guy is good?
This should be the year.
This is the year.
This should be the year. I think he has grown in confidence, stature, skill. He's a pro, man. He's like we were talking about, he's a box-to-box guy. He reminds me a lot of Michael Bradley. He has that hardness to him, defensive responsibilities, leadership, but he can also now, as witnessed in this last preseason game, he can serve a hell of a ball too. If that comes around and he's able to ignite the attack, spray balls around, send through balls, this guy's an all-star. In terms of the national team, I think the biggest problem for him is
so many guys.
Yeah, that position.
And Michael Bradley being 25, 26 years old.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, between Michael Bradley, Jermaine Jones, Maurice Adu, Kyle Beckerman, there's a lot of holding midfielders in the mix for the U.S. national team. But Perry's very young, and he's not going to get into this World Cup cycle. I just think it's too late. Klinsmann's not going to bring in an unproven national team player for qualifiers, final round qualifiers. But looking forward, he's got a future.
One of the guys that United just picked up has been a well, I'm going to say it nicely, polarizing figure, especially with United fans. Let's take the passionate fan base out of it. Carlos Ruiz is going to add something to this club.
Probably.
I think if you're expecting him to start, I don't know if he. Here's the thing that I've said when I found out. I thought to myself, well, he's not going to walk in and start because Ben loves Pahoy's work rate.
Yeah.
But as a guy coming off the bench, that's a nice option to have.
That's quite a sniper.
So, what are your thoughts on Ruiz as he fits into the team setup?
He needs to be humble enough to realize he's not the guy. Pahoy is the worker. Dero is the diva, the star. Raphael is the up-and-comer. Those are your attacking elements out there at some point. Ruiz, I think he'll get some spot starts here and there. I think if he's fit, if he fit physically and he fits into the squad, builds chemistry with these guys, yeah, I think he'll be a terrific weapon. I mean, he hasn't played regular club soccer in 9 months. Last year with Veracruz, but he scored for Guatemala's national team in qualifiers. He scored against the U.S. He's still a sneaky. Can I say bastard on the air?
Go ahead. It's
He's
a podcast.
A sneaky little bastard, man.
Podcast.
He's trouble. That's why everyone hates him. I mean, that's part of the reason people hate him. Besides some of his embellishments.
Yes.
But DC believes that he's got something to offer.
Were you able to ask the guys about the embellishments? Because, as a fan, you can go, I hate that guy.
Yeah.
But when he walks in the locker room, you can say you hate him all you want, but now he's a teammate. Have you talked to any of the guys about that?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing they do is smile and laugh a little bit. And they recognize his effectiveness in terms of gamesmanship. They much rather have him on their team than against him. I mean, Dima Kovalenko was the same way. Just a player who was loathed around the league. But then when he's on your team, you're like, I love this guy.
Yeah.
He'll fight to the death for you. This is who you want on your team. And he helped DC win an MLS Cup. So, there's some similarities there.
He won't fight to the death for you, but he'll pop a big goal in for you, and I think that's the thing.
I mean, I think if the attitude's right, he could be a big help for this team over a long season. Like you said, you're not going to see him starting week in and week out. He's 33 years old, hasn't played regularly for a while, but man, the guy scores a lot of goals, and he does it in different ways, whether it's a bicycle kick or just lurking at the back post. Whatever it is, he's been doing it in MLS. His strike rate is one of the highest in terms of goals per minutes over his MLS career. Twellman, Wondolowski, and Ruiz, I think, are the three highest in MLS history. So not a bad guy to have around.
So the team last year surprised a lot of people, and then when Dero went down, they really surprised a lot of people with the results run that they went on, making to the Eastern Conference Final, and then finally injuries caught up with them, and it was just too much to overcome. I think they had a quiet offseason, but judging by your match report that is on WashingtonPost.com, Ben's quote was, we played really badly in the first half of this last preseason game, but second half we looked pretty good, and you agree with that assessment. This is a team that probably isn't going to play sexy soccer, but is going to be a competitive team, even though they haven't been made the big splash like Chicago have with a lot of acquisitions, or they're not the Red Bulls where they're just making a lot of big plays. This is a team that's kind of gone out their business in the offseason, but they're going to be a little dangerous going into the regular season.
For sure. A lot depends on health. Dero's the hub of the attack. They need him to stay healthy. He's not young. Well, we've been saying that for years now. He's still not young, but he's still very good. But it's weird. It's still a young team. I mean, Pine's a young guy. De Leon, Kitchen, McDonald, Yakovich, Hamid. I mean, Nahar's gone. But they brought in Raphael, who's only 20 years old. this is a team that should be very good from the start, coming off last year's experience, and is healthy. And then come summer, then as with all teams, you make some decisions. What do you need? Do you have the salary cap space to make a move? What's missing? And I think they're waiting. They didn't, like you said, they didn't make one big pow move this winter. Raphael,
Who knows?
I don't know. No
Yeah.
one's ever seen him play. We don't know how good he's going to be. Picked up John Thorrington, who inherits Wolf's role as an elder statesman.
I thought Robbie
helps
Russell
out.
inherited Wolf's role as the elder
Oh
statesman.
yeah, that's
There's always
right.
going to be a guy on the team who's got to inherit that role.
Yeah, exactly. Who else? Riley come in. James Riley might start it right back on day one. That's a possibility. It's either going to be Riley or Korb. So they brought in little pieces, and they feel like they were close last year, and it didn't require major reconstruction. It didn't require something radical like Chivas USA or Toronto, New England. They like the chemistry, the bond of this team, and they feel that'll carry them a long way if they can stay healthy and get some goals from either Raphael or Carlos Ruiz, or a informed Dero.
Before I let you go, I got to ask you about national team stuff, since you were down in Honduras, correct?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, how is that as an experience as a journalist? Now, we've seen a lot written, but it's a little different between reading somebody and hearing somebody talk about it.
Yeah. This was my third trip to Honduras.
And that was are all Central American countries, when you go to matches like this, the same? Is it a similar experience in Guatemala, similar experience in Costa Rica, or is each country a little bit of a different animal?
Yeah. Every country's
Game
a little
day
bit different.
too, like even in like the press box.
Well, there's no press box, so there's that at any stadium anywhere in Central America. The Caribbean is very different from Central America. It's much more laid back, as you would expect.
Yeah.
In Jamaica
Island time.
or Barbados or wherever, Cuba. Honduras, wonderful, wonderful people, and I'll never stop saying that. It's a country that's enduring a lot of problems with violence, gangs, drug cartels. The people are very sweet every time I've ever been there. Obviously, we're in a little bit of a bubble. We're American businessmen, essentially, the media. We stay in a nice hotel. There's security guards with automatic weapons out front. Sometimes we stay with the team. We're not exposed to things that the population is.
But the average American who would go down there for a qualifying match would be in the same situation.
Yeah. I mean, you got to be street smart.
Yeah.
You don't wander around at night by yourself talking on your iPhone. That's not wise. You do things in groups. This trip was a little different. They told us, stay at the hotel. Don't take any chances because there's just too much going on in Honduras right now. So we did, and it was fine. At the stadium, no problems whatsoever.
And that's why the next question was, what about the match day experience?
Yeah, I think there's this misperception that when you go to a stadium in Central America, it's just horrible, unbearable, inhumane. It's not like that. I mean, there have been issues. Saprissa in Costa Rica, for a country that is so peaceful and doesn't have an army, Saprissa is a nasty place. And it's a great environment, but, you might get hit by some coins. El Salvador can be a little edgy. Honduras, though, people, they like their football. They like their country. They're very respectful of the visiting team, at least to the Americans. You got to remember, too, if not for Jonathan Bornstein,
they don't need. Yeah,
Honduras
doesn't he make
is
the World
probably
Cup?
not in the World Cup.
Yeah.
So there's that. And it was a good trip. I love these trips. It's an adventure. It's a big world out there. Could something happen? Yeah, but you know what? It's part of living, man.
True.
You can't.
You're right.
You just can't live in a cocoon and be afraid to go to these places. I mean, I'll go almost anywhere.
So I was talking about the German Americans. They would consider the conditions probably inhumane in Honduras. What do you think the main problem was down there? And as it applies to what needs to be corrected, talking about Denver and Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Is it Klinsmann? Is it his tactics? Is it missing the spark and smile of Landon Donovan? What do you think the thing is right now that is not clicking with this team?
Yeah, it's all those things, I think. I don't think you can point to one thing. I mean, Landon Donovan being out of the lineup, as much as some people will whine about him and his introspection and all, he's a big loss. He's a guy that can run at people and score goals. So that's part of it. I just get this sense, and, as a reporter in U.S. pro leagues, you get to take the temperature of a locker room because you're in a locker room and you can interview guys and you get a kind of feel of how this team, what the vibe is. You can't do that in soccer because the locker room's closed. And these guys don't spend much time together. So it's hard to get a feel for it. But the feel I get is, I don't know if everyone's buying into this. I don't know if there's that. I think there's individual grit and determination, but I don't know if collectively it's there like it's been in the past. I think something's missing there. So you take that, you throw in the tactics with he plays a lot of defensive midfielders.
Yeah. Which supposedly was the thing that was going to be gotten away from bringing in a foreign coach.
Partly that. Let's not forget, too, Honduras is a good team.
Yes.
Honduras qualified for the World Cup last time around. They got guys playing overseas. This is after the U.S. and Mexico. Honduras, to me, is still number 3. I think they're ahead of Costa Rica. They're certainly ahead of Jamaica. And then Panama's kind of the wild card in all this because we don't really know much about them in pressure situations. It's a good Honduras team, and you're playing in the heat. The U.S. is fielding a lot of players from Northern Europe. That has an impact as well. We'll see, man. It's going to be – U.S. has to play Costa Rica at home. They should win that. I don't really fear Costa Rica.
Is it a slam dunk, though? Because I look at everybody going, oh, it's Denver, it's an advantage. And how big of an advantage is playing at altitude when none of the Americans are going to be play at altitude?
I think the
and you get a guy like Sabarillo who is not going to care if it's 15 degrees.
Yeah.
He plays there for Real Salt Lake.
Well, that's one guy. I mean, most of the Costa Ricans aren't going to like the cold. I just think the U.S. is a better team than Costa Rica. Is it a slam dunk? No. If you're playing Jamaica there, I think it's a slam dunk. But this is a massive game.
Yeah.
And not just because they lost at Honduras, but they got to go to Mexico a few days later. And then the next game in June, they got to play at Jamaica where they lost last fall. So if
things could spiral quickly.
Yeah, I mean, if you drop points at home against Costa Rica and then have to go to Azteca, this gets a little tighter. Now, look, it's a 10-game process. 3 are automatic. 4th gets tossed into the playoff with New Zealand. You're still okay. You're not going to get eliminated by any means, but the pressure will grow if he doesn't get he gets 3 points against Costa Rica.
I think I asked Alexi Lawless this on the show.
Who?
Alexi Lawless. He's a soccer commentator for ESPN.
Yeah. Okay.
We're actually in. This must be his temple, his chapel, or ESPN, Wide World of Sports, and Disney World. I asked him, if Klinsmann, no matter what happens, gets the full hex? He said yes.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
And do you agree with it just because of the money they're paying him?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's part of the equation, but. Sunil Gulati has been chasing Jurgen Klinsmann for how many years? He got his guy. Klinsmann has instituted new practices, new mentality. This is Gulati's guy. He is married to him. And he's going to stick with him unless the only thing I could see is if somehow, they lose 4 of their first 5 games and guys start to turn, then maybe you have to make a change because the situation turns desperate. And change just for the sake of change is required. The other thing is you're paying this guy so much money.
Yeah.
You need to recoup that money by qualifying for the World Cup. Qualifying for the World Cup's a lucrative thing for any federation. you got to get there to get that money, and you're paying a coach an awful lot of it. So if the guy's not working out, okay, you cut your losses, but then you need to get to Brazil.
Steve, you seem really invested in this. I got to ask you a question now. If U.S. doesn't qualify for the World Cup, do you still go to Brazil?
That's good.
You
that's
personally?
A good question. No, that's a legitimate question, and I don't know.
Your look on your face is like, do I?
Yeah, I mean, the Washington Post should be at the World Cup. Yes.
Even if the United States isn't.
Even if the United States isn't. There's only a couple papers that could say that. You know, I don't, like USA Today wouldn't send anyone.
No.
New York Times would have a few people there. LA Times, this day and age, I don't think so. Washington Post, a little different. We do soccer well, and people turn to us. So would we send someone there? I would think so, but to be honest, I've been to so many of them.
Don't
look,
big time us. Don't you big time us.
I'm telling you, as much as I'd love to spend 4 weeks in Brazil, if it doesn't it's hard. It's hard to go. I mean, I'm not complaining. Can't complain about someone else paying your way to the World Cup.
Don't you big time us.
But look, man, 2014, summer 2014, I got a son graduating from high school. I got some other family milestones that are very important that I'm going to miss if I'm in Brazil. So would it break my heart not to go? No, I don't think so.
Well, see, I thought you had some. I thought we were Did you just say that?
I did.
Will you pass it along to the Post?
It's now official.
You're going to get crappy blog posts and half-ass podcasts if they send me.
Dude, that's what I do.
Steve, thanks so much, man. I appreciate you coming out and hanging with us, and I guess we'll watch some Rowdies Orlando City.
Hey, man,
we laugh, but Orlando's probably going to be the next.
Well, New York's
team.
the first priority.
Okay,
but
New York too.
Orlando's on the right path.
Well, here's what I'll ask you: Is New York 2 definitely a New York 2, or can New York 2 also be the Cosmos?
That I don't know about. I mean,
you haven't heard much about the Queens situation in a while.
Yeah, I don't know how it's going to unfold, but MLS has laser focus on a second team in the New York area, and they want it in the city. That is their top priority. Which
is weird because it seems like none of the fan bases, like I know Red Bulls probably don't want it, but nobody else is clamoring for another New York team.
No, I mean it would have to appeal to. It would have to appeal to the diversity of New York. I don't necessarily agree with it, but it's what the league wants. But they also recognize that there are no teams south of Washington, D.C., and that's a big problem.
And this is a nice layout venue. If this is where they're going to play, they probably won't, but maybe while they're building a soccer-specific stadium. What are Orlando City's chances now with the new Brazilian investor? Is it
promising? Yeah, I think they're
promising. Like jumps ahead of New York 2?
No, nothing will jump ahead of New York 2. Nothing. New York 2 will be
the next team
on the brink for as long as it takes. The issue is you have 19 teams right now. You want that 20th.
Yeah.
They want New York to be that 20th. If New York can't be that 20th in the next year or 2 or 3 years, then maybe you turn to Orlando or whatever. Or just to throw this out there, because it's always fun to speculate. What if a team needs to move somewhere? What if?
I don't know what team you would be referring to. It starts with a ch. Okay, good.
Yeah, so I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying it's not.
I'm just glad there's no more "we're moving to Baltimore" rumors flying around. That's why I'm
over.
happy.
Yeah, man. Jason Levian came out and said it.
We're not
Baltimore.
yet.
They're done. They're not screwing around anymore. I mean, that was Kevin Payne was using that as leverage, and I think he overplayed his hand because D.C. city government felt a little disrespected and was upset about that. And Levian just came straight out and said, "We're not going to Baltimore. We're going to get it done in D.C. If by some chance we don't get it done in D.C., then we'll evaluate things. But we're not playing games with Baltimore."
Yeah. Okay, so let's narrow it down. New York 2 probably is first up.
Yep.
If a few years go by, Orlando City definitely in the mix.
Yeah. It seems.
Chivas USA, maybe a relocation.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, maybe they solve their issues in Southern California, build their own stadium. Maybe they move to Phoenix where there's a soccer market. I don't know. There's things of, they're embarking on this grand experiment this year, re-experiment, I guess, with the Mexican flavor, the Latin flavor. It's either going to be brilliant and they're going to steam into the playoffs,
or it's going to be a disaster.
Complete disaster. I am leaning towards complete disaster, but it's a long season.
I think it could. I'm leaning complete disaster as well, but not because I don't think the experiment could work. I just think the people running the experiment aren't the right people to run it.
Yeah, I think there's that. So
then the last thing before I let you go, yes or no, because you're the king of the Z's when it comes to a DC United stadium.
I got an issue with that. Let me bring this up.
Now he needs to voice something.
I might be wrong, but I haven't used that.
No,
in a long
year
time.
Since you took the tour of Buzzard Point, I haven't seen it since then, and that was about 18 months ago.
Yeah, I haven't used that, and it's funny, and I hope people will understand this and appreciate this. Some fans think that I said that as an insult against the fan base, that I don't care what the fans think or what the fans want. It's not that at all. The ZZZZ was me taking a little, midday slumber whenever Kevin Payne or the city would talk about the stadium, because frankly, nothing was happening.
Yeah.
So why not take a little nap and wake me up when something does? Some people took it personally, like I was, insulting the fan base, and I still get messages about that, like, you hate us, you hate the fans, you're condescending about the fans and what they want. It has nothing to do with it. You totally misinterpret it.
There's no news to report. I'm a reporter, and there's nothing to report. There's nothing for me to do. Might as well siesta.
I love a good siesta, especially on a park bench outside a Disney complex.
All right, so yes or no,
Yeah.
2013, are we going to have a stadium announcement, in your opinion, for DC United?
Yes.
Like the whole year.
Yes, I think it's going to happen.
So before December 2013, you think there will be an announcement, and I'm not saying done, but ground broken?
Probably not. I don't know.
But an announcement where everybody comes together and says, we've got a stadium, we're ready to start building, everybody signed off.
I just get, I'm not a religious person. Maybe I'm a little spiritual, but sometimes I just get these celestial vibes. And, I
didn't know you were so deep.
I think the time has come. The stars are aligning, as Levian said a week or two ago, and the money's there. The city's playing along. I think it's going to happen. I would be, my personal opinion, based on what I know, and everything I know, I share. I don't keep anything to myself. I would be surprised if there is not an announcement of an agreement to build a stadium in the next few months. I know we've heard that a lot, but I just really think we've come to that point.
He's the man to follow on Twitter, @SoccerInsider. He's the Washington Post's Stephen Goff. Stephen, thank you for hanging with us, and let's go and watch some more soccer, and we'll catch up over the course of the season, all right?
We certainly will. Thank you.
Pitch Pass.
This is your voice. This is my red, white, and blue. This is my anthem to you.
For more show information, go to pitchpass.com.